Hi everyone. So we are back again, and since today is the product day of the pre-conference week one of Mentor Conference, we are going to discuss a lot about products. We have already discussed in the morning some insights from a US-based product manager about how to get into product management field in international domains. The last session you might have had a great laugh and a lot of learning from Shravan. So Shravan discussed about building great products. We also discussed a little bit about product teardown, so you would have interesting insights. Now product management is all about diversity, so it's better to understand different perspectives from different kinds of field folks and different kind of experts on different domains. So we gotten an amazing speaker again for the product management, and here I'm going to present to you Pradyut. So Pradyut is right now a lead product marketing manager at Insider, and he was also the product marketing lead at Netcore before, and he has dealt more into the B2C segments, B2C brands in USA, Southeast Africa, Asia, and delivered personalized customer experiences at scale with analytics, automation, and AI. So he'll definitely talk a very diverse mixture of these fields into product management, and how, as a product manager or product marketer right now, he would make you understand how to get a product to the user, and how would you be able to market those kind of products. Okay, so we have discussed a lot about the tech. Now it's a little bit about the marketing, so that you would understand the marketing analytics behind it, the psychology behind it, and a lot much more. So Pradyut, thank you for being here on this session. I'm sure our audience would love to know a little bit more background about you. Where do you come from? On LinkedIn it's a pretty long history. I know I wanted to bore audience, so you can give a better insight about yourself. Where do you come from?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on this amazing virtual event, Nikhil. I think when Saurabh first reached out to me, I wanted to find out more about the concept. But the more I learned about it, I realized that this is something that I really want to be a part of. Primarily because, as you guys say, mentorship matters. And when it comes to product management, when it comes to product marketing, I think it's so key to find and seek the right guidance very early in life if you find that that's the line of passion that you want to head towards. So um, I am not going to keep it too complicated. It's already 7:30 p.m. on a Sunday. I am going to dig right down to what I want to tell you about today. A couple of sessions earlier today, you've learned about product management, how to break into product management, what it means to actually work in the B2C space. But what I'm going to do is talk about product marketing, how it's important both to the B2B and the B2C sector, what entails product marketing per se, and what are probably some of the key skills that you need to get into this space, at large. So, number one, I hope my screen is visible. Nikhil, if you could just give me a thumbs up, or just let me know maybe via like a message. Just let me know if my screen is visible.
Yep, absolutely it is.
Okay, awesome. All right. So Nikhil gave me a very, very flattering introduction. And I'm going to tell you how I broke into product marketing, what it's all about, and why I think it's the next big thing, especially when it comes to B2B SaaS marketing, right? So let's dig deep. My name is Pradyut Hande. As Nikhil mentioned, I'm the lead product marketing manager at a marketing technology SaaS company on the B2B side of things at Insider, based out of Turkey, although I'm currently working out of India. And it's been a very non-linear journey for me. I actually started off at one of the IT bigwigs of the country, straight out of B school back in 2013 at Infosys, and that's when I realized that I had a flair for marketing. I was already into IT and tech, and I wanted to like bridge that gap. So for me, what was really important was to figure out what were the core skills that I needed as a marketer to actually sell software or to sell technology as such, right? And since then, since 2015 or so, I've worked with leading SaaS companies in based out of India and the US, like CleverTap, Netcore, and I recently joined Insider, as I said, based out of Europe. So, um, to give you a brief insight about what I want to cover today, we're going to look at how B2C is very, very different from B2B, although there are similarities as such, but it's really important to understand what sets it apart and why marketing and product marketing per se becomes really important to both these industries, right? I want to give you an insight into what SaaS is all about, which is basically an acronym for software as a service, and get you really excited about the career opportunities in this space. I'm going to talk about what product marketing is, really like break it down, the nuts and bolts, the key responsibilities, the skills that you need, and the immediate resources that you can access in order to develop an interest or to fuel an interest that you might already have in terms of marketing tech products. All right, so let's get started. Now, when it comes to B2C and B2B, it's really important. I've just broken this down for you for your simplistic understanding. Simply put, when you think of B2C, what do you do? Like consumers and customers like you and I, we make B2C purchases on a daily basis, right? It could be grocery, it could be t-shirts, it could be electronic gadgets. We're all purchasing online right now, but we also go to kirana stores, we go to departmental stores, we make purchases, right? Where the brand is directly selling to the customer, right? Which means that the market is really large, right? In terms of B2B, when you talk about software, when you talk about machinery, when you talk about computer equipment or electronic equipment that an office stocks, right? Printers and laptops and personal computers that they're buying in bulk, right? So that is B2B, which means that the markets are so much smaller, primarily because your buyer is a company at a large. It's not one particular individual, right? So in B2C, obviously the buyer is a single individual. It's more emotional driven. You might think about some of your purchases also, which also means that in B2B, the sales process or the buying process is far more complex because you're not just parting with $100 or $300 or even like 15, 20,000 INR, right? You are talking about big deal sizes. You're not buying one computer. You're not buying one piece of software alone. You are looking to purchase in bulk and you're looking to purchase products or services that impact employees across the company, right? So the buying process is more complex. It also involves multiple steps because there's not just one person in a company alone who decides that they want to purchase a particular thing. There are so many people involved, right? And the sales driver. Now, sales driver basically means what is it about a product or a service or a brand that encourages you to purchase, right? When you talk about B2C marketing, it's a lot about creating awareness. Like, let's say, for instance, there's a company that's selling face masks, right? They're going to talk about how their face masks are easy to use, easy to wash, are really safety proof. They can be used at home, they can be used outdoors, multiple things, right? When you talk about B2B, it's a lot about talking about how your product or service has already impacted or added value to so many other companies. Let's take the example of Truecaller, right? Truecaller is a B2C product. You and I both use it. It's also a B2B product, which means that Truecaller, the software, can be used by a lot of companies, a lot of large brands where they are calling customers. It can be used by telecom companies, by banking and financial services companies. So, what is the sales driver in that case? The sales driver in that case is that it does not list your product as spam, your number as spam, which means that you can reach and engage with far more number of customers at large, right? So those are some of the basic differences between B2C and B2B businesses. And these differences eventually dictate how your marketing strategy would be important, would be impacted, and how you are going to take these products to different markets, right? So what is SaaS as a whole? Right? It's basically a software licensing and distribution model in which software is accessed on a subscription basis, right? And it is done through the power of cloud computing. Now, when you think about subscription basis in the B2C, or rather what you and I use on a daily basis as individual customers, an example of that would be Netflix or Spotify. All these OTT platforms where all of us are paying a monthly fee to access their service. That is the business model, the core business model on which a B2B SaaS or software as a service business is built. There are softwares that help you understand digital customer behavior. There are softwares or platforms that help you engage with customers across different channels like email, SMS, WhatsApp, etc. So you are paying a monthly fixed fee over a period of time, and all of these softwares, these services, your product at large, which is intangible, is being accessed through the power of cloud computing, right? So essentially, think about large scale companies that we've all heard of. These are the most recognizable brands, which you may or may not know involve SaaS businesses. They have like a business unit that delves into SaaS, but these are all brands that are globally recognized, the likes of Microsoft, Oracle, Adobe, and even SAP, right? But don't just stop there. A lot of you will come across many other brands in this industry, like the likes of Salesforce, HubSpot, Atlassian, MailChimp. There are so many other globally recognized brands now in SaaS. And over a period of time, you will be exposed to them, whether it's through advertisement, whether it's through hearing about it through another user, whether it is through your exposure in the industry itself, which means that SaaS is no longer like a very very small industry anymore. Which also means that it's opening up opportunities in India itself. Now, a lot of you may have also heard of leading brands like Freshworks, Zoho, ChargeBee, right? These are all technically homegrown SaaS companies. They're based out of India. They have their technology and product management teams based out of India. And out of India, they have built multi-million dollar companies. They are servicing brands across different geographies, whether it is in Europe, whether it's in North America, South America. That's the beauty of SaaS, where essentially you can build a product in a particular geography. You can do it, in fact, sitting in your own home. And if you want to hit scale, you can do it remotely, because everything, mind you, as I said in the definition, is accessed through cloud computing. Everything can operate remotely, right? And these are some of the smaller examples that I've given you. Of course, they've become bigger over the years, but my point is that it's a massive, massive industry, right? I'll tell you why. So the market size for SaaS as such is actually going to reach over $307 billion by the year of 2026, right? It means that the industry is growing at a cumulative annual growth rate of almost 12% per annum. And the pandemic, in fact, of 2020 and spilling over into 2021 has worked in favor of SaaS companies. A lot of us sitting at home, working from home, have been using tools like Slack or Flock, which are basically companies that are SaaS in nature, and they're helping us engage with our employees, colleagues, reportees, etc., within an organization, right? So that's an example of a company that has leveraged the platform of SaaS, the business model of SaaS to its advantage, which means that a lot of SaaS companies are seeing exponential growth during this entire period, and that's not going to stop. That holds true for the Indian SaaS ecosystem as well. I showed you some of the examples of the larger companies, but there are so many other companies in this SaaS ecosystem, right? And what is going to happen is that by the year of 2025, estimates suggest that the Indian SaaS ecosystem, which is one of the fastest growing globally, is going to account for almost 7 to 9% of the global market share. We have the tech talent. We have product managers who are staying out of India. We have the marketing talent, and we have the ability to access global markets remotely. And this is going to basically put us in prime position to gain more of the global market share, right? I spoke about why it's easy to set up SaaS businesses and scale sitting out of a particular geography. Now, this is going to actually open up opportunities across different functions. It could be sales, it could be engineering, development, it could be finance, HR, and even marketing. Think of any core function that is required to make a company run. We are all familiar with these concepts in a B2C environment, but this holds true for SaaS as B2B as well, right? So, the world is the oyster sitting out of India. and the opportunities are immense. Now I'm going to come to what is product marketing per se, right? There is a software in the case of SaaS. In the case of, let's say, a B2C product like Google Pay, right? That is also an intangible product, but you still need a team to understand what this product can do and what sort of value it can add to the end consumer's life. Same is the case for a B2B SaaS product, right? So, in a nutshell, product marketing basically ensures that both internal teams, which means that different stakeholders in an organization, in a company, but also the external customers. Now, they can be existing customers or they could be completely new customers that you might acquire. These people, this entire core group of people, they understand the unique value that the product can bring, right? So let's take the example. I'm talking about all of this from a B2B perspective. I'm going to simplify this for you, right? Let's take the example of a B2C product like a mobile gaming app like Dream 11. Okay. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the fantasy sports ecosystem, and you probably use the app at some point or the other, right? It has cricket, it has football, it has kabaddi, it has motorsports, pretty much everything. Now, what is Dream 11 trying to do for the average sports fan, right? It is doing three things. Okay, it is actually encouraging the spirit of competition. It is creating a sense of community, which is what it's doing, right? It's bringing an entire community of sports enthusiasts together, and it's also saying that we will give you immersive sporting experiences, which means that don't just watch the match, but also create a team, engage with other sports fans, um, you know, just sort of like start. It's not actually technically betting, it's a game of skill, but enjoy yourself while you're watching a match even more through an immersive sporting experience, right? So, which means that a product marketer sitting at Dream 11 has to understand what audience they want to position or pitch that product to, right? It could start with markets which are tier one markets in urban cities like, like Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Calcutta, Delhi, etc. Right? But then they will understand there is a much larger market where the interest in sports is crazier and where the market as such is much larger, right? That's when a product marketer will do their research and understand that, okay, these are like 10 things that they like. These are like three sports that they really love. So why don't I start positioning my products at a much larger markets to tier two and tier three cities, right? So understanding customers' problems, figuring out how your product, now product management builds the product, right? Product management builds and ensures that the product is ready to be taken to the market. Product marketing works closely with product management to understand how this product works, what are the benefits of this product, and how do I communicate it to the customers. That's basically the interplay between product management sessions that you've already attended today and what product marketing can do, right? So just to give you an inclination of what product marketing is all about, it's very critical to understand that it's a very hybrid function. It involves collaboration with multiple teams in an ecosystem. They work very, very closely. Product marketing, the function works very closely with product management, right? They're also working closely with their existing marketing teams. They're working closely with sales because you have to train the sales people to understand how the product works, to train them on how to pitch the product to customers, and also improve their overall understanding of the industry and the market at large, right? And you're also working closely with a team called customer success. Basically, these teams, customer success or account managers, are responsible for dealing with larger customers, right? So it's a very hybrid cross-functional role where you're working with multiple teams in order to launch new products into the market and to gauge how those markets are responding to that product. Basics, right? Now, what are the key responsibilities? it involves a lot of market research or industry research, right? Not only do you have to know what market you're operating in, but you also have to understand your customers, which means customer interviews are also really critical. You have to understand who is your customer who's going to buy that product at the end of the day, right? Why should they buy your product over a competitor's product? Which means that you are operating in a market of, at some times, on some occasions, over 100 odd competitors, right? A simple software solution like like a HubSpot, which is a customer relationship management platform, or let's take a simpler example like your Microsoft's email service. Why is it better? And if that Microsoft email service is being used by, let's say, a business, right? Why is it better than some of the other competitors? You know, is it because they prevent spam emails? Is it because the security protocols are far better? Is it because it allows for editing of content within the body of the email itself, like little things like that? So it's about understanding the customer, what is going to appeal to them, and then figuring out how you're going to differentiate, or how are you going to position your product differently from existing products itself in the market, right? um, Product launch is a key responsibility, because if you've attended the previous session, you would have understood from the speaker that product management is instrumental in ensuring that a product is ready to be taken to the market. Now, product marketing's job is to understand that technology, is to understand the benefit and the value that the product brings to the table, and then figure out how to take it to the market. Like, are you going to just launch it in your home market? If it's an India based company, are you just going to launch it in India? If it is a product that you want to take to other geographies, then how do you plan that you want to launch it in the Asia Pacific region? Or how do you plan to launch it in Latin America or North America? So different markets require a different strategy. That's why the product launch strategy or go to market strategy is really important. And finally, you're supporting sales. You're telling them how to talk about the product in the larger market. You're telling them how to pitch the product to potential customers. And finally, it's about evangelism. A product marketer doesn't just create content that helps all these cross-functional teams, but a product marketer also has to go out into the larger market and talk about how great the product is. Obviously, that comes from a place of deep understanding of the technology, deep understanding of the customer problems, deep understanding of where the industry is headed, right? So it's not always that you go out and say that, hey, you know what, this is your problem, here is my product, why don't you go ahead and use it and all your problems will be solved. That's not what product marketing is about. But at the end of the day, you have to educate them, you have to be a consultant, you have to advise them, understand them better, and then figure out, okay, here is my software, or here is my intangible product that can solve all your needs, right? So evangelism also is a part of product marketing itself. Coming to the skills that may be required in a role like this, by now I'm sure a lot of you have understood that two, three common skills listed right at the top are very important, right? So verbal communication, because at the end of the day, you are speaking internally within your organization to so many teams. Product marketers speaking to sales, is speaking to customer success, is speaking to marketing, is speaking to finance, HR, pretty much all the other functions, right? Which means that very strong verbal communication skills, both internal as well as external. So you should be comfortable talking to customers, whether it's email, whether it is through a telephonic call, whether it's through a virtual call, whether it's through a face-to-face conversation that you're having. Very important, right? And secondly, storytelling. It's very easy to get caught up in the hype of your own product, right? But at the same time, you have to build a larger story around what your brand is trying to do, right? So Salesforce, for example, one of the brands that I showed you previously in the SaaS industry, helps sales companies understand their entire their opportunities better, how to engage with their opportunities better to close more deals, right? So it's essentially like a customer relationship management platform where sales can keep track of the opportunities that they're opening and the kind of deals that they're closing, right? So how does a Salesforce tell that story, right? So that is storytelling at its core. Product marketing also involves a lot of work with data, because at the end of the day, you are collecting a lot of data from different sources. But now that you have that data, you need to figure out, you need to have analytical reasoning and problem solving skills to analyze that data and derive insights from that, right? Ability to quickly understand technology and use tools, because at the end of the day, I said it's a very hybrid function, very dynamic in nature, which means that there's a lot of, underlying technology that your product managers or engineers are using to build products. So it's important to understand it from that perspective, and also to simplify it, to the external customers. Curiosity and coachability, these are very critical, because at the end of the day, it's not just about learning about your product or learning about your industry or learning just about the customer. You need to keep asking those questions, because the industry is evolving at a very, very rapid rate. And there is no, honestly speaking, there's no blueprint or playbook to become a successful product marketer. And mind you, product marketing means different things to different companies at different stages of time, right? So, which is why these skills that I'm outlining are core to product marketing at different stages. It could be a startup, it could be an enterprise company, it could be like a multi-billion-dollar valued company. So it does not matter, right? These are core skills that are going to help you along the way. And finally, now that I've given you a brief inclination and overview of what SaaS is all about, what SaaS marketing is to a brief extent, and product marketing in SaaS means in the B2B context, right? In the B2B context, mind you, I keep saying that over and over again. These would be some of the resources that are really going to come in handy. If you want to learn more about product marketing, your go-to gospel and something that I personally swear by would be the Product Marketing Alliance and another platform called Sharebird as well. You're going to find a lot of insights about what product marketing is, what does it mean to both B2B companies, to B2C companies, how is it different, what are the necessary tools that are required to be a great product marketer, so on and so forth, right? So be sure, if you have a basic interest and curiosity in understanding what product marketing is all about, be sure to check out the Product Marketing Alliance. There are a few books that I have, listed down, and these I believe will give you a fair and solid understanding of what software as a service or SaaS in the B2B context is all about, and how you can use that understanding to figure out where your interests lie, right? Not everyone would want to become a B2B SaaS marketer, right? Within SaaS, there is sales, there is engineering, there is development, there is product management, so on and so forth, multiple functions. But to take a concrete call on what do you want to do in SaaS, it has to align with where your interest lies and where your core skills lie, right? So this is going to help you get a foundational understanding, so to speak. There are a few podcast recommendations also that I've made, which I hope will give you a clearer understanding. But this was broadly what I wanted to cover per se in terms of what B2B SaaS product marketing is all about and why it's really, really important. All right, Nikhil.
Okay, so that was interesting, Pradyut. Uh, I was there in the backside and listening a lot of these things. Okay, so let's take up certain questions from the people.
Sure.
We have first question coming from Prathamesh. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Prathamesh, for sharing this question. So SaaS sales have complex buying roles and each drawing out different value from the same product. How do you target and plan marketing strategy for such different kind of buying roles?
Very good question. And one of the things that a product marketer is actually responsible for doing is something called persona building and mapping, right? So there is not just one key decision maker when SaaS or software is being purchased by a business. There are multiple decision makers, right? So let's say, for instance, there is a software which basically helps consumer brands, maybe the likes of Myntra, Swiggy, Zomato, to understand behavior of their app users and to figure out how to engage with them using channels like app push notifications, email, WhatsApp, etc. Right? In that case, once you're clear about who your market is, now you know your market is e-commerce, food tech, etc. Right? It's varied industries. Then you figure out who are the 3 or 4 key influential personnel within each of those industries who are going to influence the buying decision. Who is going to say that, okay, wow, this is a great piece of software or a SaaS platform that I want to invest in, or why don't we try something called a demo or a proof of concept, like where you're using the software or platform for about 4 weeks or 6 weeks to see how it's helping you, right? In that case, you'll figure out, I'm sticking to the same example, you'll figure out your core personas on the business side are maybe the head of marketing, the head of product, and even the campaign manager, right? Because the campaign managers would be the one who eventually runs the campaign, in email campaign, push notification campaign, etc. Right? So now that you've understood that these are the 3 personas, then you figure out in terms of priority whom do you want to target, right? And that's when you figure out that depending upon your budget also, you figure out that why don't I just target the head of marketing or the head of product at this company? I don't need to go through those multiple chains. If I can influence the final decision maker, then I've done my job, because he's the one who's going to sign on the dotted line. But this approach can vary, right? There are some companies operating with limited budget going to try and influence eventual user of the product. So they might choose to influence the campaign manager. So it really depends on what your strategy is, what your budgets are, and what size of deals that you're looking at. But at the end of the day, all those campaigns can be customized. It can be done through organic mediums. It can be done through paid mediums. I mean, LinkedIn ad campaigns or ABM campaigns that target these personas one-on-one really work well in such high ticket deals.
Okay, interesting. So there's another question asked by
Sure.
Continue Linux. Okay. Thoughts on micro SaaS? What is the future and prospects with respect to the Indian SaaS industry?
Uh, See, this is another niche that's developing, and it's too soon to say whether it's a passing fad or it's going to catch momentum. So, honestly, if you look at the history of SaaS in India, right, technically speaking, SaaS in India has not been around for more than 7 or 8 years max, right, in its the defined definition as we have today. So microSaaS as such is something that's going to enable a lot of these smaller startups to hit scale much faster and access global markets. But at the end of the day, it's about if you can identify a niche, and if you know that niche is expandable. There are a lot of companies that are trying to solve too many problems, like it's too broad in nature, which means that one product is not going to be able to solve all of that. But if you're developing, or if you've identified, oh, well, the light just went
Okay.
out. Give me a second.
You are still visible, don't worry. Okay, so power cuts happen, guys. It's fine. Let's wait for Pradyut to join back. And pretty interesting question about micro SaaS. What's the future prospect of it? I might have certain insights to it. Like micro SaaS is the new growing market where there are different small tasks, and Indian SMEs and MSME industry is maturing, and that's where micro SaaS, all the SaaS companies would definitely find more value to be served. Let us wait for Pradeep. Yeah,
Apologies,
Pradeep is
I'm back.
back.
Yeah, I'll blame that on the Mumbai rain. So yeah, so as I said, right, I I don't see that it's going to be a passing fad, but it's still like wait and watch and very early days at this stage. I think over the next 12 to 18 months, it's going to become clearer if this catches fire, or if this was just like a passing thing. So I am bullish about it. I hope that it does catch greater momentum.
Perfect. So we have another interesting question. Is there any scope of SaaS in robotics?
SaaS in robotics. That's a really interesting question. Now the SaaS space is so huge. I think what can happen is that now it depends on. So robotics is also like it has a business angle to it. It has a direct customer angle to it, right? If you remember back in the day when Sony was trying to put like a robotic dog in the houses, or there were conversations about like getting robotic domestic help or whatever, like for whatever reason, like the use of robotics per se, commercially speaking, there is definite use, right? I mean, robotics as such would, and in this context, would merely be an extension of what we call IoT today. At the end of the day, what IoT is doing is making your homes smarter, is making your it's automating a lot of your manual tasks at home, etc. Right? So I see no reason why why there can't be SaaS elements to robotics itself, but it depends on what is that SaaS platform, or which target audience that SaaS platform is going to target. If it's robotics that sort of leans more towards like the corporate angle to the business side of things, then the scope could be limited. But I feel like if there are businesses looking to adopt it on a more massy scale, on a more commercial scale, on a like a D2C or a B2C version, there is scope for that. But I think it's still, I'm not exactly qualified to say if there is that much scope or by how much, but I think there is scope, right, at the end of the day.
Perfect. So we have another question by Prathamesh. What is the process followed to position the product in the market apart from the competition? When to start this process along with the product development?
That's a very very valid question. So um, I'm going to take this question through the prism of, let's say you're a startup, okay, you're developing a new product. At the end of the day, a product marketer would come into the scenario about at least 3 to 4 months before that product is ready for launch. So in that scenario, you are understanding what is your TAM, or your total addressable market, who your ICP or ideal customer persona is. I'm using industry jargon at this stage, but I'm also expanding it for you so that you take cues from this and read up a little bit more, through relevant platforms. And it also gives you an advantage, or rather gives you enough lead time to understand. One second, one.
Okay. Guys, if you have any questions, please shoot in because the last 12 minutes on the session. And after that, we'll wrap up the session for today. And yeah,
Apologies. Yeah. So essentially, once, you know, 3 to 4 months from product launch, that's when you do your groundwork. That's when you figure out what is the positioning that your competition is using. And then you figure out how you can develop these differentiators, right? And very often for startups in general, it is difficult to develop differentiation, right? If you don't have a clear differentiator, then you should not overcommit or overpromise, something that your product may not be capable of doing, which means you might have to adopt a Me Too approach, which is okay to have at an initial stage. Once you have gathered a little bit of momentum in terms of acquiring new customers, in getting users or other customers to use your product, you have received a little bit of feedback from the market also. That's when you tell yourself, okay, these are 10 features that I have. My competitor has 20. But I feel that if we get three more features into this, we may not need to build those seven extra features. These features are going to put us heads and shoulders, or give us a little bit of a competitive edge over competition at large, right? So, to be honest, it's always a mix and match approach. Product marketing strategy is driven by two main drivers. You have the product roadmap, existing product roadmap, what you're building anyway for your customers, and secondly, what your competition is doing, right? In between this, you have what your customers are saying and feedback from the market at large, right? So it depends on company to company when they begin this entire process. But at the end of the day, I would recommend check out this 12 point, this checklist developed by April Dunford, who's basically this author of Obviously Awesome. She's like the prime authority on positioning and messaging when it comes to product marketing. Read that. That will give you a little more clarity on how you should start, sort of positioning and messaging products at different life cycle stages, depending upon where your company finds itself.
Interesting. Okay. So there's one final question is
Cool.
about how's SAP related to SaaS?
Okay. So technically speaking, as I mentioned, SaaS is what? SaaS is basically a cloud-based service, which is, it's an intangible product that can be purchased on a monthly subscription basis or even an annual subscription basis. Now, SAP actually produces a lot of these platforms or softwares that can be used for various functions within an organization, right? So SAP produces something that a platform that can be used by the recruitment or the talent acquisition team of a particular company. So they're using the SAP platform, the product at large, to actually, they're putting data into it from the interview, the candidates that they're interviewing, what stage of the interview process they are at, what sort of candidates are being mapped to different business units, so on and so forth, right? There are SAP systems that are being used to actually map revenue operations or to manage financial services also. So they create modules. I'm talking about from a larger like organization point of view. They're creating modules that can be used by different functions. And this is an example. They're creating modules which can be used by different functions within an organization. And that is also technically an example of software as a service, right? So at the end of the day, it depends on who is using that particular product per se.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so I think this marks to the end of the session. Thank you, audience, for joining in. I know back-to-back three sessions from the morning could have been pretty much exhausting, but you would find all of these sessions on our YouTube channel, or also you can go to foreign admins slash videos. We record all of these sessions there. And first of all, thank you, Pradyut, for joining in. I myself learned a lot of things about product marketing, and I would definitely reach out to you when we complete our SaaS product for sure. And guys, if you are there on LinkedIn, do connect to Pradyut. He's there on LinkedIn, pretty active. Do follow him for his insights on product marketing and specifically in B2C or B2B domains. And thank you again, Pradyut, for joining this session today.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikhil. Thank you so much to the audience as well for attending and very, very interesting questions. And as Nikhil mentioned, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to pick up the thread then. Thanks again.
So, guys, here we come to the end of the very engaging Sunday. I'm sure Sunday is a better day to learn and probably work hard more. So, you would have gotten more insights about product management, how to get into product management, how to build products, and finally, product marketing, which is another added element when you're looking towards product management. So, now your task is to go back, take up all these insights. You might have scribbled the notes, share it on LinkedIn probably. What did you learn from today's sessions? And tag us, tag myself. My name goes as Nikhil Jain, Nikhil J. And you can tag Pradyut, you can tag Shravan Tickoo, you can tag Mandakinee Gupta. So all of these mentors would be really happy to know what you have learned from today's sessions. So do not go tomorrow onwards. We have more interesting sessions coming up. If you are not aware about what kind of sessions do we have, go to foreignadmins.com slash mentor conference 2021. All of the sessions are given there. If not, join the Telegram and Discord community. Telegram community goes by the handle foreign admins underscore community. So you can definitely join the community and get more insights or details about it. And Discord also, you can join the community once you've registered on the mentor conference site. I'm sure you would have gotten many insightful learnings today. So do share it on social media, do tag us so that we would also understand what have you learned, and probably you would love to give feedback. The feedback form is shared in the community. If not, definitely join the foreign admins community to share your feedbacks. Based on that, we keep doing more and more sessions. Definitely not the mentor conference again easily because that's a yearly event, but we will definitely come up with masterclasses, boot camps, all of you for free. Okay. So I'm just sharing a little bit of insight. Join the Telegram community. Follow the details here. Okay, and all the resources that the speakers have mentioned would be shared on the email ID for you. So if you have not registered on Mentor Conference, do register yourself on the Mentor Conference so that your email shall be receiving all those resources and the giveaways. Remember, we have 1.5 crore worth of giveaways pledged in the Mentor Conference, so do not miss them. And yes, do follow Foreign Admins on YouTube. So definitely we could make it better and bigger for all of you. Thank you everyone for today's session.